Thank you. I'd like to open the 24th meeting of fiscal year 2020 of the Milton Planning Board. I am Cheryl Tagayas, the chair, and I am joined by several of our members, if they will introduce themselves.
Denny Swenson, secretary.
April
Kathleen O'Donnell. Oh, go ahead, April.
Anderson, member.
Kathleen O'Donnell, member.
Bill Clark, Planning Director.
Is Julia still on?
Julia's there and Allison is there too.
Okay, great. So our agenda is available on the screen. This meeting is being conducted virtually, and those who are willing or interested in joining us can do so via the Zoom platform with the information on the agenda under room at the top, and there's a password required there. There's also audio access available through the phone number there. This is being live broadcast, actually recorded broadcast. Is that right, Mike?
Yes.
Recorded by Milton Access TV and will be available for viewing on their website tomorrow. Okay. So our next meetings, actually, there's one tomorrow at 5 o'clock that I anticipate will be short with one agenda item, and that is to discuss qualification and experience that we'd like to see to give feedback to Denny, who will represent us on the screening committee for the hiring of a new planning director. Next meetings after that are regularly scheduled June 11th and June 25th. Town meeting is June 15th, and if necessary, we will meet then. I don't anticipate we will need to. Following that would be July 9th and July 23rd, and then the town meeting on July 28th. So I don't see that we have anybody who's joined us for Citizen Speak. So we'll move on to the one primary item on our agenda, which is possibility of amending the existing Milton Village PUD zoning to add an affordable housing component. And this came up as I was reviewing the PowerPoint presentation and looking at the comparison slide that we have that compares the business zoning with the Central Ave and the Milton Village / Central Ave PUDs. The Central Ave one has a 10% affordability requirement, but the Milton Village / Central Ave has no affordability requirement. And that overlay has a minimum lot requirement of 80,000 square feet. So it doesn't apply to too many sites, but it would apply still to the extra space storage site. So I'm thinking about that. And if a development comes forward there on one of the larger parcels in the district, there's a possibility that that would go forward without having to provide any affordable housing, sort of a setback to what we're trying to accomplish with our 12% in our proposed overlay zoning. So it seemed to me if there was consensus and agreement amongst the rest of the board that we could seek to amend that overlay zoning by adding the affordable housing requirement. I did speak to town council about that, so Kevin Freitag and John Flynn, and they have reviewed the language and provided a slight revision to the language. But the language that I sent them was what we have in our proposed overlay that's going to town meeting in July. So this, in a sense, would be like a companion to that, to have some consistency on the overlays to have an affordable housing requirement. So I will see what each of you think about that, and I can call the language up here. I guess I have to stop screen share for a moment and bring a different one up. I  I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I 2 I let's see. Do you see the zoning?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. This mouse is fast. Oh. It doesn't want to stay over there. All right. Well, in any case, you can see it, right?
Yep.
So this zoning is, if we look at our unofficial planning board copy of the zoning bylaw, we have a lot of these, what they're called special permits, and they're put in the appendix. So this is number 6, and it's called subsection 3. And so this adds this language to that zoning.
So, Cheryl,
Yes, I'm here.
so the reason we need to amend the Milton Village, or I guess this section is because extra space storage wouldn't be included in the other article?
Well, the extra space, because it already has a special permit which allowed for it, they would be eligible under the new, but they're also eligible under this one. And when I analyzed what they could build under both, they're allowed to build more square footage under this one, under the one that already exists. So they would probably need to do their own comparison to see which would make sense for them. But because the new one would have a smaller or a lesser requirement for parking, right? But it would allow them to, the old one would allow them to build more square footage.
With no affordability?
With no affordability.
So obviously that would be advantageous.
Right.
Yeah, the only language in the special permit is a $50,000 payment to the town for affordable housing purposes.
It's not in the zoning either. But what is in the zoning are some really
What's in their
generous.
permit, the $50,000 is in their
Right.
permit.
Yes.
One thing I'd say about the existing zoning is it's really generous on granting of bonuses, bonus floor area and bonus unit. They can grant, the planning board has wide discretion to grant the bonuses for good design. The building is designed well on 4 sides. For certain aspects of providing public access on the property. So things that I think we would probably assume in this current, our proposed overlay are sort of standard. You wouldn't put that, grant a bonus for those. So the thought is, if we add this affordable requirement and we're looking at what the public benefit for these bonuses, affordable housing is a public benefit, which would be a reason, a good reason to grant a bonus versus good building design.
Will this do anything to the permits that have already been issued for other projects in the Central Ave Business District?
No.
Issued, so I mean, they're fine, but does that make them non-conforming then, or?
No.
No,
This is under section I, subsection I. Subsection I is Milton Village. It requires an 80,000 square foot parcel. This is what 88 Wharf was built under. This is what the building in front of and beside extra space storage was permitted under. The building that, should a building appear in front of extra space storage that is substantially different than the original permit, they may have to go back for a new special permit. Yes, Kathleen is correct when she made the comment about there is a special permit out there already. That was for 21 units, 14 in the new building with a 132-seat restaurant. There are 3 units in the brick building that's on the water, and then there's 4 units in the wood building behind the brick building. That whole Milton Village PUD has no requirement for affordability. By the time we came around to subsection J, which is the Central Ave Business District, we allowed for a smaller district and we put in a 10% affordability. That's what 36 Central was built under, and that's what Hendry's is being built under.
So this sounds fine to me.
Sorry.
She said it
This
sounds
sounds
fine
fine
with
to
her.
me. Yeah, I have no issues.
The issue is that the warrant closes today at 5 o'clock. So we wanted to have an article for you to look at that you could vote up or down.
And the reason to try and do it now is we're not sure when the next opportunity would be for a town meeting. It might be the annual town meeting next spring. Given the fall, we know there won't be one in the fall, given the national elections. That's what we've been told by the select board. So it seems while we're dealing with Milton Village, this would be a good opportunity to catch this, or capture this, I should say.
I agree. I think it
So-
makes sense.
I didn't mean to interrupt Kathleen.
No, I didn't have anything more to say.
Okay. So I'm generally for adding more affordable housing unit requirements. I generally think that is the best thing to do. My concern with this one is that we generally, with zoning articles, we have a rigorous public hearing process. And I don't, one, because I was not on the prior board that did the zoning for the original the original article that we're doing a change to. I'm a little bit, I would like to hear from them or the public if they're interested. I don't know that the public would be even aware that we're having a meeting 3:30 on a Wednesday. I'm not,
There
I
will be a
think-
public hearing.
I think it
On the
was a good
25th.
catch, and I think it was good to catch it and to be on top of it, and I do think that we should explore this, but we're kind of sidestepping the process coming in at the 11th hour and 59th minute. It hasn't gone through any of the steps that our general zoning does go through. And I don't know, I'm not as worried. I don't think there's going to be a real threat of development between now and the next town meeting because of the economic climate and other pandemic issues. So I think it is a good catch and I think we should put it through the process, but I think we're coming in, sidestepping the process.
But we're still having a public meeting. We're still going to have a public hearing on it. All this does is put it on the warrant.
But we're putting it on the warrant before we've had a public hearing.
Yeah,
We're doing that. We've done that with all of the zoning.
that happens a lot in
Yeah,
other towns and other situations I've been in. All you're doing is putting it on the warrant. It's nothing other than to have a placeholder to talk about it when we get to the next town meeting. We're still going to have to go through the whole process that we have to go through. And then if it turns out that it goes down in flames at a public hearing, then fine, it gets pulled from doesn't get voted on. We just pass over it at the meeting. All this is doing is providing the warrant's only there to provide notice to the town that you might want to vote on this.
so I think I view this philosophically different. I think you and I just have a philosophical difference. I think that you vet something before you put it on the warrant and you vet it with the public before it goes on the warrant. So that's just where I come from. And that's my comfort zone. In concept, like I said, I'm generally all for adding more affordable housing units, but I just feel like I was not on the prior board. I don't have the full article. I don't have the knowledge of the that special permit, I'm sorry, the PUD zoning. I don't have the familiarity that maybe Cheryl has or other people have that have studied it. So I'm just gonna have to be a no vote.
Okay.
But in theory, maybe I'll feel differently at the public hearing, but that's where I'm coming from. And not because I think the concept and I think catching it now is good and everything. It's just the process that concerns me.
So I'm just going to add that while there are other provisions in that zoning that I think from a personal point of view, would revise, like I already mentioned, I wouldn't be supportive of granting a bonus for good building design. But that's not something, I've suggested we go back and change. The part about the affordable housing is important to me in part because if you look at somebody who might be a property owner now who wants to apply under this new Milton Village, and they have a 5 or 10,000 square foot lot, and then they see at the same time that extra space storage can come in and apply for a larger development. They are required to do 12%, but extra space storage is not. There's sort of a parity thing that it seems to me we might get called out for. And so sort of saying that we want to make the district consistent and have a 12% affordable housing requirement is really where what this is about. It's not about a wholesale change to that existing zoning.
I also just want to note, I appreciate that background. Thank you, Cheryl. I just want to note that on this agenda and the last agenda, there was no phone number to call into. So the public had no way to do a phone call into the meeting, just a process thing. I noticed.
This one has a phone number.
I can pull it back up if you'd like.
The agenda I'm looking at doesn't.
Mine does.
Mine does. Did you get it from the website?
I printed it out.
But on the first page and the second page.
Okay. I see it on tomorrow's, but the one that I printed out yesterday didn't have it. Maybe it was earlier. Okay.
Stamped in by the clerk.
So we will have opportunity to have it on the agenda on the 25th as a public hearing, but we could also put it on the agenda for our meeting on the 11th as discussion. So prior to the public hearing. So it gives 2 opportunities for members of the public to hear about it in addition to this recording.
Okay.
So I think that sounds like a good idea. I mean, I hear your concerns, Denny, and I agree with them. I also sort of feel like I'm reserving the right come the public hearing to change my mind. But for now, I mean, I think it's a smallish change that's consistent with the affordable housing goals of the community and the things that we've been trying to work towards. So I would support it going at least to the selectmen tonight and then see what happens moving forward. And it may all be moot if Adamsville or Milton Village isn't successful in town meeting, but hopefully it won't be. We might just decide to pull it. Who knows?
As I said, you've heard my theory on warrants, and I'm in favor of going ahead with this and putting it on and have the public hearing, and it doesn't work out, we just pull it. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
So I'd make a motion
Okay.
to place this amendment to section 3,
Subsection I.
subsection I of the zoning bylaw to include an affordable housing requirement in the special permit for the Milton Village Central Ave PUD.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Okay, we'll have a roll call vote. Cheryl Tagayas, yes. Denny Swenson,
No.
Kathleen O'Donnell,
Yes.
April Anderson.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Under old business, the pending articles, they were all submitted to the select board, so they'll be taking that up shortly. And we'll be having our public hearing on those articles on the 25th, but I think we could put all of the articles on the agenda just in the event that we have opportunity or question about them. We would have a chance to talk about them on the 11th, Bill. But we do have a pretty full agenda on the 11th, so I would hope that we don't have a need for too much time for the zoning articles before our meeting on the 25th. Anything else to add to that, Bill, on that topic, old business?
No, I'm going to take what what the board just voted and send it to the select board now for their 5 o'clock meeting.
Okay, so with that, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I would make that motion.
Second.
Okay, so Bill, even for the adjournment, we have to do roll call, right? So
Yes.
Cheryl Tagayas, yes. Denny Swenson,
Yes.
Kathleen O'Donnell,
Yes.
April Anderson.
Yes.
All right, thank you all, and we'll see you tomorrow.